everybody. It's Thursday.
It's Thursday, and welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily, and thanks for being here with us tonight.
Yeah.
So, we usually talk about, kind of a fishing report, and man, I almost feel like we are close to talking about first ice. I hate to say that. We are closer to ice season than ever.
You don't hate to say that. Well, yeah, you can tell. I'm getting scruffy here. Yeah, ice is coming.
And I heard that there are places that might already be ice fishing. So I don't know if that's like the mountains of Colorado or if that's like Alaska. Yeah. But I've seen, those places are out there. At least they exist. So I'm considering traveling there, but that's maybe not actually realistic.
No, we got shows to do first. We got 2 good weekends. Well, maybe. We got at least this weekend. We're gonna go up north and fish some perch, and then maybe try the river around the house again. And then hopefully one more weekend, if the ice holds off just a tad bit longer, we'll get one more weekend of fishing in the boat, put her away, and then it's Minnesota, South Dakota, Minnesota, all shows.
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
But, unfortunately, we're not there yet because, we are all really excited about the shows coming back and how that will go.
Mm-hmm. Anthony.
Yeah, but I guess as far as our fishing recently, we spent so much of the summer just talking about it being warm and into the fall, and it was consistent. And like in some ways that was all right, but turnover didn't happen,
Hey, Jeff.
And then it just all got cold all at once. So I've heard that there are people out there that have been like crushing fish and that you are having a great fall. But to be honest, we have found some varying conditions. We have found some really great fish, but we have found that they have been mixed in with even just the tiniest of babies. And you don't always find them schooling up like that. Sometimes they're a little bit more divided by size. I mean, not always perfectly separated, but in the cases of our last weekend, we found one of every size fish.
Yeah, I mean, it was it's been the story of the summer, right? It went from winter to summer, and now it's going back to winter. We kind of, it just the patterns were around us were hard to find. It didn't really set up as normal stuff. But it lends to an adventure every time you're on the water.
It sure does. And, it also kind of motivated us to try a few different things. We actually, because we were in the river, tried for, actually, this is really funny. We tried for walleye this past weekend. We caught literally one of everything that was not a walleye.
I thought I had the state record smallmouth on. If you guys haven't seen that picture, that's funny.
Honestly, I thought it was a walleye.
She told me it was a walleye.
Just the way that it was acting, but you could not necessarily go by that. And you ended up pulling up a really giant carp. But it hit a
Matt,
swim
Terry,
bait.
Jordan, Ray, how's it going?
So anyways, you gotta love that fight, and it was super unexpected, and it made for a funny point in the day. So gotta love that about fall fishing.
Well, and it was a good fight anyways. That's a good fish to catch.
So, as we go forward in the show, a few things. Just a reminder that you can, get all of these different episodes on podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that YouTube, these are available, and you can go back on Facebook as well. But again, if you are doing traveling this coming ice season or whatever, you can listen to some fishing tips and tricks along the way.
Yep.
The other thing is feel free to put your comments in the comments section or, funny stories or whatever it is that adds to the conversation. Because then as we are talking with our guest in just a minute here, then we would love to be talking about those things with you as well.
Mm-hmm.
So without further ado, let's bring him on in. Welcome to the show, Craig.
Hey, buddy.
How you doing, Josh? Hi, Emily. Good to be with you guys tonight.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Actually, we started the show kind of talking about shows and expos, and I love that that's kind of our connection too. That's kind of how we met.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's going to be kind of a busy year, and I think it's going to be nice that we can do them again. We had a year off there, and through no fault of our own, But the shows are back on, and I'm sure everybody's excited to get to them and see everybody. That's kind of a I don't know. I think you guys probably felt the same way. There's a little bit of a family going on with all the people that work at the shows for the different manufacturers and vendors and stuff. It's going to be nice to see everybody again.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to sneak in one other thing here real quick. Jordan is asking, are we going to the ice show this weekend? And I've got to say, we're not.
No.
Our first show is going to be Sioux Falls, and I think that is similar.
Blaine, isn't it? Or is Sioux Falls first?
I'm pretty sure Sioux Falls is first.
No, Blaine is this weekend.
There's two, I think.
Oh, is there two this weekend?
There's one. There's the North Metro Ice Show. That one's taking place at the Trick Your Trap, I think. And then Blaine comes up sometime. It's either she's saying it's the third week, and then Sioux Falls is the second week of November. She's probably right. I don't know.
Well, anyways, we'll look up the schedule because that's the thing is it's coming up, but almost not close enough to know off the top of our heads quite yet. So all of that is coming up, and keep it on your radars as well. But we will get out kind of an official schedule to you guys. So
yeah.
I guess before we get too far along, I'm going to kind of jump back to what's normally our first question. So, Craig, for somebody who doesn't know you, which actually looks like quite a few people in the comments do, but for people who don't, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I've been fishing probably most of my life, as far back as I can remember, being able to hold a fishing rod, maybe going to a trout farm or something like that, maybe when I was younger. But for the most part, fishing as much as we could as a family. And then as I got older, high school, a lot of my friends, we would go fish Mille Lacs. We lived down in the cities. Obviously, I grew up in South St. Paul. And go pack. That might not. That's the only Packers I know. But then as things got kind of progressed along a little bit, and I was a big fan of in-fishermen. The Linders, obviously are the stewards of modern day fishing, walleye fishing, and that kind of stuff. So got involved with some tournaments on Mille Lacs. Probably did about 10 years worth of tournaments. The Wave Whackers, the Red Door. There's a couple more in there that I probably can't recall at this time, but did pretty good. And then it was a passion. As far as anybody else that goes in there, it was just something that the tug is the drug, I guess. Maybe that's the thing, that way that I always describe it. It was a lot better than any of the things that I may or may not have experimented with throughout. But and then had a chance to move up to the Brainerd Lakes area, which is the home of in-fishermen and Linders and all that. And enough lakes here, I think you could probably spend the rest of my life fishing every lake and not touch the same one. So a little bit of guiding, not a whole lot. I actually had a real job that kept me pretty busy, worked a lot of hours and that kind of stuff. But just the people that I hung around with, we're all fishing and outdoors people and stuff. So I was hunting and fishing, and the fishing is just kind of stuck around. Got to know some people in the industry a little bit, and some opportunities came to get involved with Northland Tackle on their pro staff. And what I've been doing for them for the last 8 years or so is we talked about it. I work the shows, so we got a busy season coming up here. Sioux Falls mentioned. I'm in Fargo 2 different times, one for Shields and another Fargo ice show, and then the St. Paul show, and there might be another one. I'm not quite sure at this point in time yet, but there might be another one in North Dakota too. So. The nice thing about that is I have family in Sioux Falls, my oldest son and his family, 2 grandkids, and his wife are down there. And then I have my younger son lives in Fargo. So I'm the first one to volunteer. I'll go to Fargo. I'll go to Sioux Falls. So it's nice to be able to bring family along and see them as well too. So.
So I mean, I guess I hate to jump too far ahead, but we were talking about shows and stuff. Is there stuff coming out this year that you are excited about and want to
Oh,
show people?
yeah, absolutely. Northland came out with some new stuff this year. First and foremost would be a coffin spoon, they call it. It's kind of shaped like a coffin. If you were to look at it from on top, I don't know what that shape would be called, but if you look at a coffin, the old box coffins had the two, across the front and then down the sides and then the sides, and then it's beveled on those sides too. So you have a lot of surface area, I guess, and there's a rattle built in it, like the buckshot rattle spoons. Got the same rattle built into that, and all those surfaces are painted or have the design on there. So there's a lot of flash as that thing catches water on any particular facet of that spoon. So excited about that. The Bro Bug spoon is another one that if you remember, Brian came out with a Bro Bug. This is more of an elongated spoon, kind of a sliverish thing with some buggy eyes coming out, and that thing just dances and shimmies, and that's going to be responsible for putting a lot of perch topside. I can just do that. I know that. A couple of on the panfish side, probably on the tungstens, we've got a gill getter and a mud bug. Those are kind of those. Again, got the bulging eyes, and but they're in tungsten, so they fish a little bit heavier and go down through that slush or a little bit deeper on the panfish side. So pretty excited about that. Yep.
Well, and that is actually really cool because you're showing some different options for multi-species there. So one of the things that I know about the Northland Tackle booth, at least in the past, because I haven't seen it yet this year, but you walk up and it's a really cool place because it's kind of like log cabin-y feel. But all of the yellow packaging of all the different products, like it's just a really cool, bright, and eye-catching place to walk up to. And so to be able to sort that down and, kind of look by species or tactic, that's actually a really fun thing to be able to look through each year.
You know what the best part of it was? Yes, the yellow is an attraction, and everybody knows that when they see yellow, they're gonna know that it's Northland. But the best thing I like about the booth is the floor, because it's like it looks like maybe a tongue and groove floor or whatever, but there's like an inch and a half of padding underneath it. So the whole time that you're on your feet walking and up and down, man, I'm telling you what, it saved me probably a couple of chiropractor trips over the years, because it's great on your back. And it's funny to watch people walk into the booth area there, and all of a sudden they step on the floor and it's one of those sunglasses commercial things. Oh yeah, that's comfortable. And they don't talk fishing. They're not even interested in the Northland stuff until you kind of come up to them and approach them. They're just there to relieve a little bit of pressure from walking around on the cement all day. But, no, it's a great booth. Yeah, it's wonderful. I think we got it down now to when we break that thing down, we've got it less than an hour. We can break that whole thing down and box it and ready to ship in probably a little bit over an hour.
That's actually really impressive.
Yeah, it's kind of cool when it all goes together. But yeah, no, it's fun. I love it. We get a lot of traffic through there. Again, like you mentioned, it's visually it's catchy, and well, I don't think I have to go too far out on a limb to say that Northland probably puts out some of the best all season tackle, ice, summer. I mean, there's a lot of great tackle out there, but if Northland wasn't good, they don't have good people working for them, I don't think I'd stick around too much. So they're fantastic to work with, and they have great products. So it's not a hard sell.
Yeah. So you're talking about the spoons that they're coming out with. And the first one that you were talking about, is it called the coffin, or was it shaped like a coffin?
Well, it's called the coffin spoon, and it is shaped like a coffin. Yeah, both. Yep.
Okay. So you were talking about how, it sounds like it's going to move around a lot in the water because it has like different parts of it. So is something that moves around so much, are you putting bait on that?
Yeah, that would be something you would, like most spoons, probably put a piece of meat on. Some of the smaller versions, I think that goes down to an eighth. If you were targeting some perch or some panfish, maybe some crappies, I don't see any reason why you couldn't hang some Euro larvae, some maggots, that kind of thing on there, or even plastics if you so desire. Anything that kind of shimmies and shakes down there, because that spoon, as it hits the different facets that are built into it, it just, there's surfaces that make it shimmy and shake, and it just doesn't fall straight down and doesn't shoot one way or the other. It just kind of rolls around a little bit, and then all those different facets have either reflective paint or tape or whatever that just look like a dying minnow, the scales reflecting light and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a good one for Northland. Yeah, you bet.
And Jay's talking about he's using them with a minnow head on it. So I know that's really a common thing that people are out there using. But I do also really like your idea of throwing some pieces of plastic on there because, that can make a great attractant as well. And I think that people sometimes overlook that.
Yeah. It's probably something that you probably wouldn't dead stick. I think it's just got too much action built into it, that you wouldn't want to just leave it on a dead stick. Something, if you're maybe familiar with like the eyeball spoon that we came out with a couple years ago, something like that would be more of a dead stick type thing where you could hang a fat hat or some kind of minnow on there, whatever your preference is, and then let that sit down and let the minnow do the work. And then you have that big eye that a lot of predators focus in on when they go to attack prey. That eyeball spoon's been fantastic. That you wouldn't mind a quick story. The first time we brought those out, we did a little R&R over in North Dakota, and we had everybody: Tony Roach, Chip Lear, Cody Roswick, Brian Brosdahl, his wife Heather, and Kyle Waterman, Sam Larson from Northland. And, we're going to try all this stuff out before we brought it out. The second time I pounded the bottom with that eyeball spoon, boom, I got hit. 9-pound walleye was the biggest fish for that weekend. And I'm telling you what, you would have thought that I just kicked the game-winning field goal for the Super Bowl. You guys were so happy, and of course I was too. And I got a little press exposure in the next year's catalog over that and stuff. So, but that eyeball spoon is absolutely fantastic. It just doesn't matter if it's crappies, perch, walleyes, northerns. They always focus in on the head of bait fish, because that's, if they go for the tail, one flick of the tail and that bait fish is gone. They focus in on the head, and that eyeball is huge. No different, or no reason. It's the reason why North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, and Wisconsin all allow you to use perch eyes for bait. Mm-hmm. The one state that doesn't, Minnesota.
Minnesota. But it's really great that there is an option out like the eyeball spoon. And I got to admit, that was something that I was really excited about when it came out. And I just never picked any up. And like talking to you here got me excited again. So I'm going to have to pick up a few of those. Those are really awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see what I can do before we get to Sioux Falls, and maybe I'll have a little present for you. I owe you one after that Striker coffee cup too. So, which I still have, which is the best coffee cup that I own, bar none.
That's awesome. Well, and since we're on the topic of spoons, something that like most shows, I like to get my little tackle tip in here. Don't be afraid to start to look in other places in the hobby store, because dropper chains are really easy to make. And so just head over to the jewelry section in Hobby Lobby, find some metal chain, pick up some number 12, number 14 trebles, and go to town. Put some of those dropper chains, and you you can use a pretty big spoon with a dropper chain for stuff like perch, bluegills. You know, you can modify those baits to work for whatever species you're looking for. So that's just a little thing, you know.
I tell you, that was the last. Well, it was the year before last. Was the first time I was down in Sioux Falls, and I was working in Dakota Anglers box, and they had a Northland section there where I was hanging out, and everybody came in and was buying those droppers that Northland sold, right? Single hook or treble, it didn't matter. And finally, about the fourth guy came in and said he wanted those, and I said, okay. Took him off to the side. I said, what's the deal here? I said, I've never seen anybody in Minnesota use these things. What do you guys know that we don't? And basically what he talked about, Josh, is the same thing that you're referring to. Sometimes those fish are a little bit finicky where they don't want to move that spoon or it offers too much resistance. But if you have that small chain hanging down there and they go to engulf that bait, the chain moves, the spoon or whatever attractor you have on there stays there, but that bait and the hook swings into their mouth. And he says sometimes that's the difference between a fit, you know, getting hooked up and not. So last weekend I had I don't know how many eyeball spoons, some smaller buckshot spoons that I pulled the treble hooks off of it and hooked up those chains. I got about a dozen different variety of spoons that I'm trying it for sure this year because it's those guys in South Dakota, they know their stuff. They really do. They're smart anglers. They have finicky fish out there because they have shallow water, shallow ponds that they fish, and they have to be ultra stealthy. So any of these little tricks, so just kind of pick up on that when you talk to these people from South Dakota. They're very, very knowledgeable. They're very stealthy. And that's the way our lakes are getting to be here too. I mean, you look at all the electronics that we have now, it's crazy. You're going to have to become ultra stealthy and just use some stuff that is kind of off the wall a little bit. You know, you got to look outside the box.
Yeah, that is for sure. Really quick, love all the different comments that are coming in. So thank you for everyone who is giving your input, because that is great. I do have to stop and ask here. So Nate is checking in. He said, if we'd like to hear a great crappie story, you got to ask about wintertime on Lake Osi. Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah, it's short for Lake Osawatomie.
Okay, yeah.
Don't ask me how to spell it. There's a lot of I's and a lot of S's in there. Yeah. Hi, Nate. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. That's my youngest son up in Fargo, and that's kind of where he learned to cut his teeth. We would take from Christmas time to the first of the year when the kids were out of school. Every day we would go to this lake. I had a friend that lived on there. During the day, we would set up and do some tip-up fishing for northerns. We like to pickle fish and that kind of stuff, so we would get our northerns, and then we'd go over to this little hole that was on his end of the lake. The lake stretches east-west pretty much, but on his little end there. And you know, I hate to say this, but we would just absolutely I couldn't fish a rod and Nate could only fish one rod because it was just like tuna. It was one right after the other. As soon as that thing stretched out, the line got tight, the bobber just kept going down. And I mean, we would do it until we you know, like I said, I feel bad about some of the fish. I mean, we always brought home limits, and usually we ate them the same night that we caught them. But I remember a couple of 4x8 sheets of plywood that you couldn't fit a fathead minnow on because it was all full of crappies. So kind of learned our lesson there a little bit, but that's where Nate learned to cut his teeth on crappie fish, and then it's some great memories. Hopefully that he'll have for quite some time. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a lot of fun to do it with your kids and stuff. So there you go, Nate. There's your story.
That is awesome. So when you're in a situation like that where you're catching tons of fish, that's really lucky, and sometimes anything works. But people are not always that lucky. So what is your go-to jig or plastic or setup, I guess, for panfish?
Um, Boy, that's a good question because over the years there's been, and I'm talking, that was probably 25 years ago. Yeah, 22 to 25 years ago. They're the little panfish jigs, the little tungsten type shaped jigs that we see now. They might not have been tungsten. I'm sure they weren't. They probably didn't even invent tungsten back then. But as simple as the old jiggle sticks, you would make them yourself, and you had the two little pegs that you would wrap the line around, and in a bobber, stretch your line out 3 times because it was 18 feet down, or roughly about 18 feet down, and using line that I wouldn't even think of using on summer reels, because it had the peg marks in it, and stuff, and that fish probably, when he finally got the line tight enough and the bobber went down, he'd probably had it for 30 seconds already. But and that's as simple as it gets: hook, line, and sinker. To now, we've got the electronics that are just, I'm flabbergasted by, working at Reed's all summer, and you see this staring at these live scopes and Panoptics, and now Lowrance has their version, Humminbird has their version. I'm telling you, it's put a whole new, and you hear about some of the guides and stuff up on Leech, and they're using this stuff and very successful with it. So the electronics that we didn't even have electronics back then,
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's probably the old green box flasher, maybe, that we had, but you just knew, after you experimented enough times, how much line you had to put out, or how deep you had to go. That's how deep you had to go. And then years later, when you got into electronics, man, I'm telling you what, you can see those fish unbelievable. And now if you were to sink a live scope or Humminbird or Lowrance version out there, you drill one hole, drill two more, and that's about it.
That's about it.
For those people that have that equipment and using it and are successful with it, I think that bears some responsibility too, with taking care of our fisheries. I don't think anybody can think otherwise, that you can be extremely successul. Still got to make them bite. Yeah, that's a thing, but finding them is a huge part of the equation. And we just got to make sure that we're, maybe as I'm getting older, I'm getting a little softer, but and I used to love to kill fish, and I'm not really proud of that at this point, but that's the way it was back then, and you ate everything you had, nothing went to waste. But that equipment now, and they used to say that about the old flashers and stuff, that green box, oh my God, there's not going to be any fish left. This new stuff is the real deal. When you hear how people talk about it and how they use it, how many tournaments you guys probably heard, and I hear it all the time, and I know these guys that are winning tournaments with it, they're seeing every fish that they catch. It's nuts. So,
well, and to kind of take a different approach to this thought as we're sitting here, the world of ice fishing has changed a lot in that number of years. And when you bring it up to somebody that may have been introduced to it that long ago and hasn't revisited the idea, or has never been introduced to ice fishing, and that's what they see on, grumpy old men, that's an important thing to bring up, is that for people that haven't fished, like, it's a lot more enjoyable now. For someone like me, I've always enjoyed the fishing aspect of it, but for the technology we have, you can be so much more comfortable. You can be so much more efficient, and it just makes it for a much more fun activity on the ice for everybody.
I couldn't agree more, Josh. And you guys know full well with being involved with Striker. I've had a Predator suit now for probably as long as Predator came out. But yeah, you're extremely comfortable out there. You can be out there when it's windy. You can be out there when it's slushy, and the clothes that we have makes it a big deal. The hub houses that we have, whether they're flip over type models, the bigger hub houses, tents, I guess, I don't know the correct term for that, or the big houses, the wheel houses. I mean, they're basically RVs on ice. You can use them year round. So a lot of people are doing that, and no, there's no reason to not get out unless your in-laws live in Hawaii or something.
Well, then that's getting out, but a different kind of getting out.
Yeah, well, even
not
then,
ice fishing.
I would fish when I went over there too. So I was telling Josh earlier, my in-laws live in Hawaii, so that was always a thing why I didn't stick around here in the summer or in the wintertime. But I got to say this too. My wife just gave me a note on the side. She says, now I have to go to Hobby Lobby. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate that. But
well, Craig, you want to know something? I had a realization the other day. So a little bit of a background story for those that don't know. Emily and I have dabbled in a lot of different tackle making schemes. We do hard baits and rods, and now with this last year, we've kind of dabbled in a little bit in making plastics. And this spring, I had a realization to myself while I had about $100 worth of glitter in my arms walking out of Hobby Lobby, that I was a grown man with $100 worth of glitter in my arms walking out of Hobby Lobby. So if you would have told me that in high school, that was going to be me, I don't know if I would have believed you. That's why context is important.
It's a true story.
But it is one of my favorite stores now, honestly, because there's so many things that you can just walk by and be like, oh, I can make fishing stuff out of that and that and that and that and that. And then Emily's like, can we go yet? I got my stuff. No. But
next time Jody says that she wants to go to Hobby Lobby, I'm turning in, because throughout this last summer, people were in, and this is something maybe we can talk about when we get together at Sioux Falls, because I got some ideas for you guys. But you know how clothes would always do about a 20-year cycle? I mean, bell bottoms were huge. 25 years later, they're back again or whatever. Some of the lures that we haven't seen around for some time that worked pretty good back then haven't been around for a while. I know Hobby Lobby has those parts.
Yeah.
So like I said, next time we drive by one, there's one up in Fargo, and we drive by a couple down when we go down to Sioux Falls, I'll be pulling in.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. One of my favorite things is sometimes we'll make leaders for the tip-ups. And I'll put all kinds of beads on there, but I found that like half the beads will float and half of the beads will sink. And that always gives it a really different dynamic. So you never know what you can get into when you're there.
Well, and that's a great point, because you can go into a Fleet Farm or a Cabela's or whatever, and they have the Snell section, for all the walleye tackle, and you get like 25 beads for $7 or $8, or you could go get those same beads at Hobby Lobby for $2 for 100 pack.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is that I haven't looked very much at the fishing tackle building stuff in like a fishing store lately, but at Hobby Lobby you can get different stuff like rock beads and glass beads and metal beads and plastic beads, and they make all different types of sounds, and it's a huge like tackle imagination.
Absolutely, you nailed it right on the head, Josh. And Northland does sell components to make spinners and that kind of stuff, beads and all that. But if you walk into one of them stores, you're going to see beads that you'll never see in a fishing component, type situation. So it's kind of stuff that we all know that fish can't think. I think they can get accustomed to the same kind of stuff, maybe the same vibration pattern, the same clickety clack that some of this stuff makes. If we throw something a little bit different, again, look outside the box a little bit, or think outside the box, those different shaped beads, different faceted beads, different materials that beads are made out of. Hey, why not? Like I say, you don't have a huge amount of money invested in it. And what better thing do you have to do on a cold day if you're not fishing, or a rainy day if you're not fishing, is sit in your favorite chair or up to your favorite desk and build some components. So that's part of the thing. I like doing that too. Like I said, I did a whole bunch of those chain things. I've made some modifications to our puppet minnows. We have the puppet minnow that's kind of a vertical jigging bait. We have a rattling version too that's can be used horizontally and vertically. But I'm not going to say this is my own idea. I picked it up from another prominent fisherman. I don't know if the name makes any difference, but you take either a puppet minnow or a jigging wrap, an Acme bait, take off the bottom hook. Okay, some of these baits have smaller trebles that hang down from the bottom. I get bigger hooks. Okay, and usually if I can find them, which I bought reeds out of last time I was there, the triple grip treble hooks. They're like 3 Kaylee hooks, and they're a little bit longer. You take the old hook off, put one of these on it, and here's the cool modification: is you take a piece of plastic off of a worm, cut a little hunk off, maybe a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch long, put it over that treble hook, reattach that hook, and then slide that piece of plastic that covers that pivot area. Now that bigger hook does not flip over on the bait and hang up. It stays hanging down on the bottom, pretty static. I mean, it's got some movement in it, but it's always hanging down on the bottom. It'll never get hung up on you. And like I said, I wish I could remember I saw it on YouTube or Facebook's one of the fishermen that are always on there, and I wish I could give them credit, but I don't even remember who did that. I don't know. I don't want to.
That's okay.
I did that to, every one of those baits that I own now have triple grip hooks on them, and pieces of colored plastic, a little bit different colored, all the different grubs and worms that we have, whether they're crappies or bass fishing stuff, and put a little different color on there. We'll see how it goes this winter.
Nice.
Man, and I really love the idea of, you can choose the color that goes on there. So if you know the bodies of water that you're going to, clear water or this or that, that's always something that's really fun to play with. Otherwise, just a nice hunk of red plastic on there just gives them something to aim at when they're biting. I don't know. I think that's great.
Absolutely. Those triple grip hooks I found were red hooks too. So I'm a big fan of red hooks. For some odd reason, I think if you were to look at kept your data all throughout the years, I think red hooks probably maybe put more fish in the boat than just bronze colored hooks or whatever. Although crappie fishing in the spring, gold Aberdeen hooks are pretty good too. But the red hooks are a big deal, and just like you said, Emily, you can play around with color combinations until you're seeing stars in your head.
Yeah.
Your imagination is the limit, so it's kind of cool to play around with that a little bit too.
Yeah. Well, and I'm on the red hook train, so I'm there with you. So we talked about all kinds of different baits, and a lot of baits with movement and sound and all of that. So let's go to the total opposite. Do you have a favorite dead stick setup that you use?
Yeah, I have to go back to that eyeball spoon is probably my first and foremost one that I would go to. I just either that or just a plain hook, a plain red hook, and properly hooked minnow that that doesn't kill the minnow. Maybe flake off a couple of scales so you don't punch those through the minnow, and then make sure when you come out the other end you don't have a scale on the tip of your hook. And I guess maybe you could again go back to that bead selection. You could put a bead ahead of that hook to do a little bit enticing or a little bit added attraction. I know some people put little flicker blades on there. If you're going to use a treble hook, you have to do that in Minnesota because we have not only 10,000 lakes, we have 10,000 laws. But so be legal when it comes to that. Have a bead, have a little flicker blade on there of some kind, and there's your imagination is all kinds of colors and blades and hammered and all that stuff too. So you can do that, but again, 9 times out of 10, if you're dead sticking, it's for me, it's just an eyeball spoon and a good lively minnow. Bait selection is real big, so.
Well, and as far as that minnow goes, that's a really great tip that you kind of glazed over. A lot of people do this, scratch the scales off so you can put that hook in there, but making sure that you don't have one as that hook comes out, because sometimes you throw that hook back down the hole, you assume that the scale floats off or something, but it's amazing how much that could impede a bite that you're getting.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I think if you look at some of the real finesse things that are commonly overlooked or taken for granted, it's those little things now in this day and age of there's no secret spots anymore. Everybody's got GPS points, everybody's got 1 foot contour maps and that kind of stuff. So there are no secret spots. So the next thing I've learned, and I think that's maybe why I've had at least the personal success that I have, is trying to be smarter. I was never the biggest athlete, but I always tried to be the smarter athlete, So, and I think the same goes for fishing. I may not have all the latest gadgets to find fish or to locate fish or whatever, but if I'm in that right spot and I've got fish hanging around, I'm going to do the little things that maybe are overlooked, taken for granted. And I think that's going to add a couple more fish topside.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So we've talked about a whole bunch of different things here tonight, and a lot of really great, exciting stuff coming up for ice season. And I know that, if people bump into you at the shows and stuff, you love talking about this kind of stuff there as well.
Oh, absolutely. I love making new friends. You and Josh are two of them that if we would have been standing on another side of the aisle or whatever, maybe we never would have had this our connection. But going down, I've been able to, I hope to take advantages of some people that I've met down in Sioux Falls. I want to go down there and fish because there's got a lot of great lakes down there. There's lakes up in and around the Fargo area, and stuff so yeah, absolutely stop in, say hi. Here's another great story. I'll never forget this one. This is absolutely funny. So Northland came out with the Predator rigs. We had a full-size Predator rig and a mini Predator rig, right? Comes down, use it for either a set line. You could use it for a dead stick or you could use it on a tip up, but from a single point comes down with beads and blades, 2 treble hooks, and you would hook a big sucker minnow. Okay. And I just telling the story and kind of being a little funny, but I said, and if you run out of minnows or all your minnows are dead, I said, just if you're out happen to be barbecuing, take one of those hot dogs that you got, whether they're cooked or not, it doesn't matter, and put that on the Predator rig. And he kind of looks at me like, yeah, I do need hip boots because it's getting a little deep. And a year went by, and again, we're at the St. Paul Ice Show. And you see faces, you don't really pay much attention to them, but I happen to look down the aisle, 30 people back, and I see this guy coming at me, and we made eye contact already. But I don't recognize them, because how many people do you see per day for 3 days straight? Everybody's face, unfortunately, kind of, but I knew he was coming at me, and I'm going like, okay, I'm looking for an out here or whatever. And he comes up to me, he's got his phone in one hand, grabs me by the shirt, and he goes, it effing worked. And I said, what? He says, well, don't you remember? I said, no, I'm sorry, but I really don't. He said it was that hot dog thing on the Predator. And on his phone, he had the picture. He had a 42-inch Northern that he caught. He was at a bachelor party with all of his buddies, so they're out barbecuing hot dogs and stuff out on the ice. And he said it worked, and I caught the biggest fish of the weekend. and I took home the pool, however much money it was, because they were betting on it. And he was just so excited. He says, I was hoping that you were going to be here so I could show you this picture of this fish that I caught using a hot dog. And don't go out and get the most expensive hot dogs. Get the cheapest ones you can find. And sure enough, he was just so excited. And every time I tell a story, I got goosebumps on my arms right now, because the guy was so sincere about it, and so thankful that I shared this tip with him. I don't know if I've ever used a hot dog on a tip up, but he did, and he got big fish, and I'm sure he probably carries hot dogs with him when he goes out nowadays. So it was great story the way you told it too, and it was just hilarious.
I was going to say, who else carries hot dogs when they ice fish?
Well, somebody off to your side was pointing in your general direction.
Well, I mean, we do have a couple of tips for that, actually. Well, Emily does. So Emily came up. Emily's has kept fish tanks in the past, saltwater fish tanks, and she came to realize, in a fish tank capacity, that garlic is actually healthy for those fish, and they really do love garlic. And so that she used that knowledge and applied it to the bait making. And she marinates her packages of hot dogs in oil and garlic powder. The other thing that people need to remember about this hot dog thing is tip-ups are a lot like jig fishing. You don't leave your jig in one spot, and you don't just fish one spot of the water column with your jigs. With the hot dogs, we found that it's more successful if you put them just below the ice, just like a foot, maybe 2 feet under the ice, because that hot dog, actually, if you look up fish spitting, like northern spitting up fish, a lot of times that bait is that same color and that same profile as a hot dog. And really? So just having that floating right underneath the ice, a lot of times that's where you're going to get your bigger northern.
It's amazing.
There you go. And probably, when they do that late season northern tip up fishing up on Lake of the Woods there, that probably would be one of the things that you might want to do. Sure.
Yeah. Honestly, that's really funny.
I might start carrying hot dogs around then.
Well, that's the thing.
You don't have to keep them alive.
Or they freeze, good to go.
Yeah,
right. Good to go.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure that we'll talk about it when we see you in Sioux Falls.
Oh, absolutely.
So if other people from the show want to come and see you, or if they want to come and check out the booth, or if they're looking for different Northland gear, like you have an awesome shirt and hat there, is that things that they can find at the booth as well?
I don't know so much about the apparel part of it. And I believe the Northland Tackle that we'll have down there will be probably sold out of the Dakota Angler Tide High Camps store down there. Great store. They got everything you need down there. But they'll probably be selling out of their store. I'm not sure. Last time we were down there, they had some show specials and stuff. I got to imagine that they'll probably have something. I don't know at this time what exactly they are. But certainly it's definitely worth coming in and checking out. Todd always has a great selection of the stuff, the new stuff. He'll have coffin spoons and the bro bug spoons. And the new Gill Getter stuff, I'm sure he'll have all of that. May have some apparel there, but if not, certainly www.northlandtackle.com have all that stuff. Christmas is right around the corner. I know. I just talked to one of the guys up there tonight before we came on, and they got a great selection. I don't think we got anything hung up out off the west coast of California, but certainly jump on the website. We've got all kinds of apparels, hoodies, beanie hats, Bagley stuff, Northland stuff. Got some great kits where it comes in one of the yellow tackle boxes that we have. We've got a spoon kit that offer a different variety of spoons in different sizes. We've got a tungsten kit, all the different tungsten, the gill getters, and like I said, the mud bugs, the punch flies. The punch fly jigs are tungsten as well. And then there's a color extension kit, I believe, that comes in a kit. And all you have to do is jump on the website. Real easy. I mean, if I can figure it out, anybody can. So that's all available through the website. Shipping comes out really fast. So you'll have it by Christmas, or certainly before we see ice, which, like Josh, you started off the show, Emily, I don't think it's going to be too far away. I did see some pictures on Facebook, some guys that were hunting in North Dakota, and there was snow on the ground. So it's not too far away.
I could not be more excited.
Well, you'll share part of my enthusiasm then, because as I get older, I'm getting to be more of a freeze baby. But I love that suit. I just got some new Sitka underwear, long underwear stuff, so I'm going to be nice and toasty.
Nice.
That's awesome. We're going to have to hit the ice with you one of these times. You can wear your fishing hat instead of your hat.
I would love to. I'm always up for a road trip, man. If you guys got something going on out there, I'll jump in the truck and Jody and I will come out and visit. Or if she has to stay home and take care of the dogs, I could probably make the trip myself. But yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come out and visit and see what you guys have to offer over in Wisconsin.
Well, and bring your lucky fishing hat, because we need it.
Okay, I can do that. I probably we'll like I said, I owe you guys one anyway, so love to come out and fish. What when you guys said you got the river right by you, where you guys exactly? I'm not sure where you're exactly located.
We're about 40 minutes. Well, currently we're about 40 minutes west of Green Bay, so we're just a little north of Lake Winnebago, a little bit west of Green Bay, and a little bit east of the Wisconsin River. So we have for a couple of lake fishermen, we have a lot of river to learn. So
okay, well, the rivers are fun. Once you get them figured out, and I think all those, and if they're tributaries of the big water, I mean, you got some walleyes, and I know some guys that that fish. Brad Monian, I think his name is, from BAM Tackle. He started up BAM Tackle. He's fishes a lot of rivers over there and stuff too. So yeah, you guys got some good stuff going on over there.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm always up for a road trip, man.
Perfect.
That's awesome. We'll let you know for sure.
Good.
Cool. So, I guess with that, thanks for being here with us tonight.
Josh and Emily, thank you guys much for the opportunity. It's good to see you again, good to talk with you again, and it won't be but a few more weeks here, and we'll get to see each other in person again, and I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for the opportunity. It was a blast.
Yeah.
And to the people at home, thank you guys for being here as well, because it is always a ton of fun to, hear your stories and your input and your questions and talk about all of that along the way.
Yeah.
Cool. So with that, we'll see everybody on next week's edition of The Night Bite.
Night, everybody.